Hi, welcome to live stream yoga with Louise. Tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today we are moving because we are privileged to be able to do so. Our focus is on mobility and range of motion. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify when you need to, rest when you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set ourselves up towards the back end of the mat with a nice long bit of runway in front. Stand up nice and tall in mountain Tadasana, rooting through your feet and lengthening through the line of the body. Take a big breath in, filling your lungs to maximum capacity. And on an exhale, start to come down into a roll down pattern and use the roll down to bleed your way into a down dog. Think piped frame. Start to lift and lower your heels off the floor once you've found the basic frame. End in the heel lift. Use it to sweep up the right leg behind you. Take a big lunge, step forward, and then rotate towards your lunge line. Relax the back knee on the floor, lift the foot off the floor, and reach for the back wall. Find your way from here back into the down dog frame, lifting and lowering through the heels, waking up the back chain and the legs. End in the lift, sweep up the left leg behind you, do a big lunge step forward and rotate towards your lead leg. Relax the back knee on the floor, bring the foot off the floor and reach softly for the back wall. Then look towards your front foot, splay it out, do the same on the second side, and find your way into a midway lunge, leaning the weight side to side and just opening up gently through the groin. Come to stillness in the middle, twist to one side, grabbing opposite hand to knee, and reach for the wall behind or reach for the sky. Bleed your way back to the middle, side to side lean. Center align to twist to side two, and then open up one hand reaching for the wall behind or reaching for the sky. Find your way back to the center and square up through the feet, coming into a tabletop fold, or starting to drop through the fold, hands on the legs or hands to floor. If the legs are really tight, bend and extend dynamically through the legs, and then hold when you're able to. Step back into the down dog frame, wider this time, lots of space between the arms and the legs. And then use your down dog frame to find a strong plank, wiggle walking the legs back if you need to, strong through the arms, strong through the core. Make sure that your core is engaged and start to drop your hips through the plank line, coming into a strong, controlled up dog. Then relax your knees to the floor. Lift your feet off the floor and drop them off center to one side, stacking the legs on top of each other and start to roll side to side through the hips. You're going to do that maybe 2 to 3 sets. Getting a nice little bit of a rotation through the trunk. Looking for that flexion in the spine. Back to your down dog. Settle into the stretch. And then start to walk your hands back towards your legs. Peeling up like a ragdoll to restack, realign, and find your way back to your original position on the mat. Big breath in. On an exhale, roll it down, finding your way into your down dog. Begin to lift and lower the heels. We're going to end in the tiptoe position, sweep up the right leg, find a big lunge forward, rotate towards your incoming leg. Relax the back knee, maybe this time you can reach back for that foot. If binding to the foot is not an option, lift the foot off the mat and just reach for the wall behind you. Back to down dog. Lifting and lowering through the heels. Into the tiptoe position, sweep the left leg back. Use it to take a big lunge step forward and rotate towards your incoming leg. Relax the back knee to the floor, maybe reach back, opposite hand to foot. See if you can make a connection and then lean the weight forward. Back to our down dog. Squat. Maybe this time you can start to drop lower towards the floor. Or you can stay at waist height, that's good for you. Come to stillness, grab opposite hand to knee. Reach for the wall behind you or reach for the sky. Begin to shift the weight side to side. Maybe peeling the heels off at the same time and then reconnecting. Opening up gently into those tight spots. Center line. Twist to the second side. Grabbing opposite hand to knee. Reaching for the sky or reaching for the wall behind you. Then hands to floor as you square up the feet, coming into a straddle fold. Hands to floor or hands to block, or maybe your hands are connected higher up along the chain of the legs if the floor is not accessible. Step back into a wider down dog frame. Press into the palms, feed your head through the hands, thinking nose to knee, working into those shoulders. And then find your way into a plank. Transition into an up dog. As we drop the knees to the floor, think knock knees. Bringing the feet off the mat and starting to find your side to side roll onto one hip. Give yourself 2 to 3 turns. Keeping belly to spine throughout, strong through the arms. Find your way maybe to a narrow down dog or bring your feet back into parallel. Start to walk your hands back towards your legs. Peel up ragdoll style, lean with the back of your ribs to restack your body in one long line. Big breath in. On an exhale, roll it down. Walk out into your down dog frame. And start to play with those heels. Really trying to anchor every time you drop down. Stretching into those calves. End in the heel lift. Sweep the right leg up. Lunge step forward, rotating towards your incoming leg. Dropping the back knee, reaching opposite hand to foot. And then leaning the weight forward into your low lunge. Back to your down dog. Playing with those heels, lifting and lowering. Bending in the lift, finding your way into a three-legged dog, and then using it to lunge step forward, rotating towards your incoming leg. Relaxing the knee to the floor, reaching opposite hand to foot, and then taking that little lean forward, looking for the quad and hip flexor on that back leg. And then maybe using this line by just stepping the lead leg out slightly to set up a mid or a deep squat. Maybe you can come straight into it this time and just sink down. If you need to shift, shift. Then grabbing opposite hand to ankle this time and reaching for the sky or reaching for the wall behind with the other free hand. Back to the middle. And then rotating to side two, grabbing opposite hand to ankle, throwing the other arm up to the sky or reaching for the wall behind. Back to the middle. Hands to floor as we square up through the feet and come into our straddle fold. Maybe we can reach around on the inside of the ankles and pull our crown slightly closer to the floor this time. Back to down dog, step or hop. Really trying to pull the head through the arms, feel that intense stretch into the shoulders. Then start to transition from your down dog into a plank, from your plank into an up dog. Strong through the arms, strong through the core, protect your back. Think knock knees as your knees come towards the floor. Lift the feet off and then start to play with that side to side roll. Looking for that flexion in the spine. Giving yourself 2 to 3 turns. And then we'll be transitioning from this kneeling like frame into 4-point kneel. So open up the knees back into parallel and start to play in cat-cow, alternating between a hollow and a rounded back. Keeping the frame of the arms and the legs still, playing at a 1-to-1 inhalation to exhalation ratio, and just nimbling up through the back of the spine while finding our abs. Contract the abs as you round out in cat, and then release the belly for a stretch as you find the cow. Come to stillness in tabletop, long stretch through the neck and the spine, and then take one leg, reach across the midline and slide the leg away on the floor and start to play side to side. You can think of this as a modified, let's call it a little modified pigeon slide. Waking up through the obliques. Give yourself 2 to 3 slidey turns, keeping belly to spine. Find your way back to 4-point kneeling. Take your right knee and start to trace big lazy hydrant circles, externally rotating through the hip. We're shooting for maybe 5 big circles. Then come back to 4-point kneeling. Slide the right leg away and float it up into table. Stay or take the leg out to 90, hold. And then use this line to step into a lizard, stepping the leg forward but angling the foot out at 45 and then leaning into the wrists. Hold the stretch, make sure you've got that turnout position on the lead leg. Then look towards your lead foot and start to heel toe it in, bringing it flush along the right arm. Press and resist with the right arm, and let's play with the left. Opening up into T and tapping back to the mat 5 times. In fingers to sky on the left, hold it. Keep pressing and resisting that right arm and that right leg. Lead your way back down to the mat and lean forward into the wrists. Then take a hamstring stretch, walking the hands back and starting to play with your lean forward and your lean back. Sitting back as far as you can every time towards the bum. You can drag the arms and the hands up and down on the mat if you need to. Trying to peel those front toes off the mat, pressing off the lead heel and really working into the back chain of the lead leg. Maybe end in the seat and pause. Then back to your low lunge, but this time take a hand on the outside of the lead leg. So take a moment to just readjust your limbs. Then start to focus on the back leg, slide the foot in so that it's parallel to the mat and peel up into a half kneel. Think Captain Morgan. Then look towards your bent leg and start to wiggle walk the foot out as far as it will go, extending the leg. So now you've created more distance between the knee and the foot. Bend your extended leg and then extend. Working a little bit more into that tight groin. We are going to use this frame to come into half frog, which we've been playing with a bit the last while. So maybe end in your bend and pause. Then place fingers to floor and start to slide your extended leg away. Looking towards your bent leg, sitting up a half frog line, knee and ankle in line, knife edging the foot, coming onto the palms, and just pausing here, maybe playing with a lean forward and a lean backwards. Opening up gently. Maybe ending in the lean back and pausing there. Finding your way back onto the tips of the fingers, wiggle, walking, sliding that leg back in, squeezing the two knees together, coming into a narrow camel. Take the L frame between your index finger and thumb, hook it around your waist. Keep the two legs squeezing together as you find a gentle back bend, opening up generously through your throat and your chest center and thinking shoulder blades coming together behind your back. Then relax your arms heavy at your side, nod your chin to your chest. Start to pivot towards the back end of the mat. Set up your 4-point kneeling frame and start to play in cat-cow when you're ready. Finding your rhythm, working and moving with your breath. Come to stillness and table, take that stretch through the neck and the spine, and then start to play with that off-center reach and slide. Think of it as a modified pigeon slide. And give yourself maybe 2 to 3 turns. Reaching across the midline with one foot, taking a slide, activating through the obliques. Find your way back to the middle. We're going to play left leg tracing big lazy hydrant circles, externally rotating through the hip. Then come back to 4-point kneeling. Slide the left leg back and up. And if you can, take it up to 90. Then use it to take a big lizard. Step to the front, angling out that front foot at 45 and leaning into the wrists. Look towards your lead foot and start to heel toe it in, bringing it flush along the left arm. Press and resist and start to play right, opening up the right arm into T and then tapping back to the mat 5 times. End fingers to sky, pause. Come back to the mat and start to play with your low lean forward and your hamstring stretch back. Start to play dynamically, giving yourself at least 5 rounds, alternating between the 2 frames, maybe trying to progressively sit closer and closer to your bum. Dragging the hands on the mat if you need to. Let's try to end in the seat, whether it's a full seat or a half seat. Then back to your low lunge, but bring the hand on the outside, so slightly shift position in the foot, and then lean forward. Really getting into those tight spots. Then let's change the angle on the back foot, bring it in. Think Captain Morgan as you come up. Lean into it. And then let's extend the leg and slide it a little bit further away from the body and start to play with that lean, bending and extending through the left leg. Opening up gently into the groin, work with care. We're going to end in the lean, and then we're going to use this frame to transition into our half frog stance. Placing fingers on the floor, sliding that left leg away, placing hands on the floor, and then setting up the frog line on the left. So look to that leg, make sure your knee and your ankle are aligned and that you've knife edged the foot. Start to lean front and back. End in the back lean, hold it. Find your way back to neutral and start to wiggle, walk, slide your left leg back in, squeezing the 2 knees together, taking the L frame between your index finger and thumb, using it to support your back as you come into a narrow camel hold, Ustrasana. Then pivoting to face the top end of the mat and finding your way back into your cat-cow play. Come to stillness in table and start to play with your modified pigeon slide, taking one leg, sliding it across the midline, and almost taking a seat nice and low to the mat. Give yourself maybe 2 to 3 turns. Find your way back to 4-point kneeling. And then start to play with the right leg, tracing lazy hydrant circles out to the side of the room and back. Maybe 5 circle traces. And then knee coming back to the floor. Slide the right leg out and up. Take it out to 90. Hold. Use those abs. And then use it to take a lizard lunge forward. Leaning into the wrists, making sure that that front foot is splayed out. Then bringing it back to neutral as you start to heel toe that foot in, pressing and resisting, and then starting to play with your opening T-frame and your tap to the mat on the left. Press and resist on the right. We're going to end fingers to sky. Then hand comes back down to the mat and we're going to start to lean forward and lean backwards, alternating between a low lunge and a hamstring stretch. And in the seat, hold it. As you come back to your lunge, sweep the hand on the outside and reposition the front leg. Lean forward. And then start to change the sit-up frame on the back leg. Bring it in towards the midline. Peel up. Find your Captain Morgan. Take a lean. Then see if you can increase the distance between the two legs by sliding the right leg away and then starting to play with that bend and then extend on the right leg. Working mindfully. End in the bend. Then place your fingertips on the mat. Start to slide that right leg away and then set up a half frog line on the left. So take a peek, make sure that you're optimally set up, and then start to play with that. Lean into the wrists and then push back. And in the push back, hold it. And see if you can find your way from here into your camel. Squeezing the two knees together, supporting the lower back as you bump the hips forward over the knees. Bring the two shoulder blades together, open up generously through your chest and your throat. Then relax the arms heavy at your side as you nod chin to chest and realign shoulders, hips and knees. Pivot to face the back end of the mat and set up your 4-point kneeling. Frame for some cat-cow play. Chakramakrasana. Come to stillness in table. Take a long stretch through the neck and the spine. And then when you're ready, start to play with that modified pigeon, stepping across the midline, sliding one leg away and taking a nice, almost curtsy seat, let's call it. Give yourself maybe 2 to 3 turns. Then back to your 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. We're going to play left. We're going to externally rotate through that hip, tracing those lazy hydrant circles. When you've done roughly 5, you're going to bring yourself back to 4-point kneeling. Slide the left leg away and up, and maybe open it up to 90. Then lizard step to the front, lean into it, hold. Look towards your lead leg as you walk it in. Flush against the arm, press and resist, and start to play right. Opening up into T and tapping back up 5 times. End in the reach. And then start to play. Leaning to the front of your mat, leaning to the back of your mat. Give yourself maybe 3 to 5 oscillations between the low lunge and the hamstring stretch. Finding your rhythm, pausing, holding where you need to. We're going to try to end in that hamstring seat, whether it's a full or a half seat. Then we're going to rearrange the arms so that you're framing the lead leg. So take a moment to walk it in, come back to your low lunge. Then start to focus on the back leg. Swivel it across the midline and peel up into your Captain Morgan frame. Take a lean. And then try to increase the distance between the 2 legs by sliding the right leg away and coming back into that extend and bend play on the left. Making sure that you're not pressing on the knee joints, so just behind it. We're going to end in the bend. And then we're going to use this frame to set up our half frog line, placing fingers to floor, starting to slide the left leg off the mat, looking for the right leg, checking that it's in the half frog line, and then starting to play with a lean front and back. Working mindfully, and you might find that one side might be a little bit tighter than the other, so just work with care when you find your tight side. We're going to try to end in the push back and hold it for maybe 10. Come back to neutral. Wiggle, walk, slide your left leg in, finding your way to your narrow kneel to take a narrow camel back bend. Bumping your hips forward over the knees, feeling that delicious stretch into the quads, the hip flexors, the belly, the chest, the throat. Then one long kneel, relaxing your arms at your side, nodding your chin to your chest. And we're going to come into a full frog, Mandukasana, from here. So think fingers to floor. So you could think narrow 4-point kneel and then start to walk the knees out, readjusting yourself on the mat so that you've got support for the feet. and the knees. Take your stance as wide as is comfortable for you. Check over the right shoulder. Check for your frog line. Check over the left shoulder. Check your leg line. Then start to lean front and back. We're going to try to end in the back stroke and hold it. Bring yourself back to neutral and look through your legs. See if you can bring the two big toes together behind you, and then start to walk your way back, readjusting the knees if they're too wide, and come into, think of this as a really wide child seat. Tadpole, hold it. Allow for a neutral spine and just find your seat. We're going to find our way from here into Thunderbolt. Start to walk the knees in, making space for the two legs as they come in. Reposition yourself bum to heel, sitting up nice and tall. Stay here or give yourself more work into the feet and the ankles by dropping your hands to the mat, sweeping them behind you, lifting both knees off the mat. Then as you reconnect to the mat, see if you can find your way into a squat line, preferably a deep squat, but you can work higher if you need to. Settle into the squat and then start to drop one knee at a time to the floor. We'll keep fingers to floor on the first one just to find the movement. Maybe 3 turns. Then back to your deep squat. Transition into an actual seat on your bottom and keep the legs nice and wide as you start to play with a double knee drop. Side to side, maybe 5 lazy, relaxed, slow turns. Don't rush it. Back to your deep squat. And then finding your way from this deep squat into a nice wide standing straddle. Maybe hands to floor, wiggle walking the feet out. And taking that stance nice and wide, sliding the legs away, almost as if you were prepping for a split line. And walking the feet back in, coming into a narrow forward fold, hands to floor or hands to block or hands to legs. Then back to a narrow kneel. And when you're ready, start to walk the legs out, finding your way into your full frog line again. Taking the time to just gently prise those legs open, checking over the right leg, check your frog line. Do the same on the left. And then maybe see if you can come down onto the forearms this time. Start to lean front and back. And in the backstroke, hold it. Come to neutral and start to bring the two big toes together behind you. Leading up into a wide child seat, readjusting the knees as you need to. Find your seat and just take a moment. Breathe. Allow for a neutral spine. Lead your way into Thunderbolt from here, bringing the two knees flush along the midline if you can manage it, and sitting back bum to heel. Take a moment. Stay here or add a double knee lift. Drawing your hands back behind your hips as you lean back and lift the knees off the mat. Into a deep squat from here, Malasana. Maybe hands off the mat this round if you can manage it as you play with that knee drop. Back to the middle. Take your deep seat. Keep the legs wide as you start to drop both knees slowly side to side. Back to your deep squat, Malasana. Using those elbows, using those hands. And then into a nice standing straddle, wiggle, walking the legs as far as they will go, coming onto the palms or maybe even the forearms. Then maybe bleeding your way into a seat of your choice. It could be a butterfly line. It could be more of a diamond frame. Taking a seat, or if you prefer, you could come to Shavasana or a supine butterfly on the mat. Finding a nice tall seat or a nice relaxed lie. Take a couple of moments here, just looking for length through the spine. Closing the eyes, taking your focus inward, and starting to breathe mindfully through the nose. Inhaling and exhaling in a relaxed but controlled fashion. Looking to open up your rib cage in 4D every time you take an inhale. With your eyes closed and your focus inward, try to absorb the truth of the next few words. You only realize what a joy and privilege it is to move when you can't move anymore. Move because you still can. Move because you can improve. Move because if you don't, you soon won't be able to. With those thoughts, let's end off our practice today by nodding chin to chest on the words Namaste. Thank you so much for coming out and playing with me today. Till next time, keep it light.